chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, and I'm super excited to be here with you today because we've got my trade bestie, Audrey Ross, as my guest, and we've got some pretty cool things that we're going to be talking about today. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to our show sponsor, the Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you have not gone over to the secretsocietyofsupplychain.com to check it out, go check it out. It is our free membership group. And then we also have a membership group for women in supply chain called Connections. Now, I want to give a shout out to all of our newest members. We've got Sophia Khan, Laura Mason, Adi Bleacher, Irina Naiman, and for Women in Supply Chain Connections, Selena Feinstein. Thank you so much for joining our community. Can't wait to see you in there. We've got lots of fun things happening in there. So go and check that out. All right. And I'm just going to apologize now. I got something going on with my throat today. So if I have to cough, excuse me for that. But let's get into what is happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain this week. So we've got a brand new Woman in Supply Chain episode, number 484. That's right. We are closing in on 500 episodes, which we are going to be celebrating in the next couple of months. And this episode is with Saskia from Blue Yonder, and we talk all about her journey. She actually talks a lot about growing up. I think she talked about being on a farm and climbing trees and how that turned into a supply chain career. So highly recommend you go and check that out. It is a very cool episode learning more about her journey, and there's so many great snippets that she shared in there. All right, next, I am going to be at this particular event this Thursday, August 7th, from 1:15 to 1:44 Eastern. And I'm going to be talking about how finding your voice powers brands' visibility, customer connection, and growth. And this is with Octane and ShipStation. So if you haven't registered, go and register for this. Ash comes from a background in retail and branding. And so we kind of combine forces for this particular talk track around how you can better connect with your customer and really, really, truly grow your brand. So go and click the link in the comments, go check it out, register, and I will see you on Thursday. All right. What else do we have? We've got some in-person events. So we are hosting the first ever Pickleball Slam at IANA Expo, September 15th in Long Beach, California. There's a couple of ways that you can get involved. We've got sponsorship opportunities available. Plus, we've got team signups as well. And we're going to put the link to both, I believe, in the comments for you. Even if you're a supply chain professional who's local to Long Beach and you want to join the Pickleball Slam, make sure to sign up and register for that because you are more than welcome to join us. And of course, IANA Expo is September 15th through 17th. We are going to be recording podcast episodes for Let's Talk Supply Chain on site and in booth during that time. So if you are interested in that, make sure to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Then November 6th, I'm going to be in Paris, France for Visibility Now with Shipio, and I can't wait for that one. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of different interviews, and then we're going to be sharing it with you live that day here in North America. And then, of course, we've got Manifest February 9th through 11th in Las Vegas. And if you haven't gotten your ticket, go and get your ticket now because I think we're still in some of the early bird pricing as well. All right. Have you seen our Let's Talk Supply Chain news? Well, this is a brand new segment, and we've been putting out short clips from some of the experts in the industry about a whole bunch of hot topics in supply chain currently. And this one was, what if AI knew your inventory was out of control? And Deb Fryer did a really great job of answering this question. If you haven't gone to check it out, we're releasing these snippets every couple of weeks just to stay on top of the trending news, what's going on, so you can stay focused and keep on top of it yourself. What else do we have? We have a brand new episode of Blended. This is about ERGs. And I had Hattie, Amy, Eric, and Lori join me for this one about employee resource groups. And it was a great conversation. We learned about why they were important or why they are important, how you can do it, how you can champion it, and so, so much more. So if you haven't gone to check out this episode, go check out this episode. The link is in the comment for Blended. For the most recent episode of the Blended podcast. And last but not least, I have a brand new monthly pop. This is my monthly newsletter on LinkedIn. And if you don't know this, I am writing a book. I am in the middle of that right now, but the official launch date has come out and it's October 21st. And part of the title, I talk about my journey to writing the book in this newsletter. I also talk about the title, what it means to me, and what the book is going to be all about. So go and check that out. The link is in the comments. Last but not least, before we bring up Audrey, and I'm not entirely sure where she went because she's not here. She's not in the background. But we have a 2 p.m. today episode coming out on Friday. Stay tuned for the link. The link's going to be coming out a little bit later on today. And that's at 10 a.m. Eastern. He's going to be joined by Jet McCandless from Project 44, and they're going to talk about the evolution of the visibility category. Wow, there was so much to share. Now it's time to bring up Audrey. You're back. You gave me a little bit of a heart attack. I came back to my screen. I was like, where's Audrey? She's not in the green room.
Sorry, I did a Wi-Fi boost.
Well, welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. It's been way too long.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a few weeks.
How you doing?
Pretty good. We just had a nice long weekend here in Toronto. So
yes, you did.
Got that extra day to get a break. Really do some chores. But also spend some time with friends and family. So it's good.
At least you're not thinking about supply chain, or maybe you were because you were like, I got to get ready for the next week.
Yeah. A little bit last night when you're kind of putting the calendar together for sure.
That's funny. All right. So for anybody who doesn't know you, tell them who you are and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm sitting here in, I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I'm a trade compliance and kind of customs person. That's become my jam. Moved a little bit more away from the logistics, but it's still definitely part of the day-to-day. I'm the current past president of the Organization for Women in International Trade here in Toronto, which is a great group that focuses on networking and hi, Halia. And ways to ensure that women and underrepresented groups are getting access to international trade and opportunities. So it's I keep myself busy.
I love that. You're always championing, voices in the industry in other ways, and especially in trade compliance.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I think, and that's a really important area right now with like tariffs and all these things that are coming out and the messiness of it. You need somebody who can actually bring it into perspective for you and make sure that you're protecting your business, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Trade compliance is definitely in the hot seat right now. A couple years ago, supply chain was kind of in the news, and now we've kind of moved over to trade compliance, but it's definitely a vital part for your business. And so, if you're a small business, especially, don't think that you're kind of too small to be mentioned, but it's a hot topic for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we've got some people already telling us in the comments where they're watching from. Yeah. I want to know who's watching, where you're watching from. Put it in the comments. We're going to put it up on the screen or give you a shout out if you're over on my personal LinkedIn. And if you like the conversation today, give us a fire emoji. I don't know what my interest is in fire emojis, but I really like a good fire emoji. So
it's very reaffirming.
I just want to know that you're liking the conversation. You're having fun with us today, because that's what we like to do on Thoughts and Coffee, is to give you all sorts of insights on lots of different topics, but also make supply chain a little bit more fun. All right. So let's get to our poll of the week. So we ask our community a question every single Wednesday morning. And so this question was, what's your number one Slack rule? Now, I don't have my glasses on, so I need to go on the other screen. So we had 89 votes for this one. 38% of you said no messages after hours. 28% of you said don't hey and vanish. Ooh. 18% of you said emojis are required. And 16% of you said threads equal chaos or threads over chaos? I think it's threads over chaos. What did you think about this, Audrey? Which one did you choose?
I thought this was great. I think I might have gotten confused. I don't know if I answered this one. I felt like I couldn't. Maybe I did no, emojis are required. That's probably what I did.
Well,
Um,
and that is such a like some people really love emojis and they love
yeah,
using emojis and some
yeah,
people just do not.
yeah. It's true. There's quite a like 50-50 on that. I don't know. Threads are chaos. I think threads are helpful. I think the etiquette that there's an etiquette that if you know, you know, but there's a lot of people who don't know. So it can be interesting to be in like mixed groups on Slack, but yeah, hot.
So I have to point out this comment from Rick. I know I'm diverting from the poll. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if a fire in supply chain is fun though. I know, but like fire emojis, just to say that the conversation is lit. Isn't that what the young people say?
Yeah, and it's energized there's hot things happening, hot topics. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
container fire is like that's we don't want to go to that. We
Hot,
don't want to go
not
there. No.
fire. It's called a fire emoji,
Yeah,
but really,
exactly.
no, we do not
Like,
want any fires
yeah,
in supply
not
chain.
actual
Sorry,
fire.
Rick. I had to
Yeah,
stop the poll
yeah,
conversation because I loved that one. All right.
yeah.
If
We
anybody
just
else has any
dangerously
other comments,
we don't want to see fire. Yeah.
and if anybody didn't answer this poll and wants to answer, make sure to put your answers in
Yeah.
the comments. So I don't actually ever really do too much in Slack. It's kind of open season
Yeah.
all the time. I don't really put any, titles or anything on it. I don't put any boundaries. I probably should. I'm not very good at that. I
Yeah.
will say, the don't, hey, and vanish. That's a
Yeah.
little bit annoying.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to say something, say something. Don't
Yeah.
leave me in anticipation
Yeah.
of what that actually means.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I think that other one is threads over chaos because if you don't
Okay.
use threads, it does get a little
Yeah.
chaotic in the fact that you're like technically, you're
Exactly.
starting different
You're just
conversations
starting a
as soon
bunch of
as you
different
answer.
conversations. Okay, I misread the math term, which is not a surprise for me.
I
So,
mean, it's early and it's the day after a long weekend. We're
exactly.
giving you some grace
Yeah,
here,
I'm
Audrey. All
half
right.
caffeinated. That's where we're at.
Half calf. Oh, I need to go get you some coffee. Anyways, so now's the time of the show that we usually go into a bit of a market update.
Yeah,
You have your pulse on all sorts of stuff that's going on in the
yeah,
industry. So talk to us about what's top of mind for everybody. What's sort of going on? What do they need to know?
yeah. I don't know if I'm the expert, but I follow experts, and I think that that gives everyone the
Oh, you're
kind of
both.
connection, right? Yeah, market update. I think logistically, I think in maritime transport, things are moving. I think we are still having a diversion around the Red Sea as that kind of geopolitical situation is still ongoing in that region. So there is still a diversion. We used to go through the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is sort of not being used right now, which is kind of a shame because it's a great tool, great shortcut. So we're all still taking the long route around the continent of Africa. So that has, I think a lot of people have folded it into their timing. People have chosen rail. People maybe have adjusted to air service, but it's still like if it comes back, it'll be really great. It'll be a great day in maritime shipping when that gets opened up. Otherwise, there's not a lot of disruptions, thank goodness. We're kind of in a situation where there was some volatility from the US administration applying tariffs. And so the conversation around tariffs is kind of the bigger and broader conversation that people are having. But, there was some positioning maybe earlier in the season. What would this peak season look like? Would it be different because people had front or freight forwarded merchandise before it got on, before kind of in advance of tariffs? So there's been a bit of that conversation, but it looks like for a lot of regions, it's kind of a regular peak season. There are higher volumes as there typically are as people feed into end Q4 retail milestones, including Singles Day in China and US Black Friday, the kind of holiday celebrations like Christmas and Hanukkah and that. So, so it's been, prices are fairly stable. They're not extreme.
That was
And
a
that means like
hesitation.
Well, hopefully it's like a knock on wood. Hopefully that continues, right? We just want that to continue. It's been like a nice, like, oh, containers like like I would pay that. Okay, no problem, right? Like that's the value of what I want to pay. Sure, I'll ship it. And it
Okay.
hasn't been wildly volatile. I think we're
Right.
starting to see some assessment, from Lars Jensen on what the Gemini Alliance, which started sort of in January, February of this year, what that looks like, because it's a different kind of um, this hub and spoke model, right? So it's a different kind of transshipping or um, vessel utilization. And then we're
Mhm.
just kind of waiting to see what the end of the year looks like. And of course, everybody's got their crystal ball trying to figure out what the pre-Chinese New Year, pre-Lunar New Year shutdown will look like. So, August can always be an interesting time for logistics and sea shipping.
Well, and it's interesting to hear that peak season is kind of on track, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
there's been so much of disruption and volatility over the
yeah,
last couple of months with tariffs and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
People weren't necessarily manufacturing, or maybe they were, and they were still going to ship product in peak season. And so there was a
yeah,
lot of people that were saying peak season is going to look a lot different. It's
yeah.
actually going to be a little bit later on in the year.
That's
And that
possible.
has not really happened. It's kind of happened maybe a little
Yeah,
bit, but not too much. So it's really interesting to see how some of the predictions from a couple of months
yeah.
ago, how they're playing out right now. All right. Well,
And
I
these
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, and these tariff changes don't allow you, like, there's no runway, right? Because
Right.
even the changes that were announced on global reciprocal last week, as long as if your goods are on a vessel before August 7th, okay, well that's like,
Right.
how am I going to make a decision on what, like, it's either already on the vessel or it wasn't and you missed it. So it's like
And
that
what
has
if it's
just
not
had
made?
yeah, like that has had a big effect too on, like, you can't actually rush something or change your decisions. Whatever your decision was 6 months ago, that's kind of what has to be maintained. So
Yeah.
always
Well,
interesting.
and you can't just change logistics like
Yeah.
that overnight. So, and those decisions, like you said. All right. So let's talk about our first article of the day. Now, this one is around Walmart and it's talking about testing out dark stores. Now, this isn't the first time that we've talked about dark stores on Thoughts and Coffee. During the pandemic, we did talk about it quite a bit because retailers were going to dark stores or testing out dark stores to be able to fill online orders because everybody went online to buy all of their stuff during the pandemic. So a dark store, if you don't know what that is, it's a retail location, but the public is not allowed inside. So technically it's full of inventory and they're picking and packing all of your e-commerce orders from inside that store and the public's not allowed in there. One of the really interesting facts of this particular article is that Walmart achieved e-commerce profitability for the first time in Q1 this year. I thought that was fairly interesting because I was like, who is not making money on e-commerce right now? But I think it's because of a strategic move, which I will talk about in a minute. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your key takeaways from this particular article.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to really reach customers. It sounds like they're starting the kickoff in Dallas, which is of course a pretty high volume market, I imagine, for those shoppers. And then the other piece is, like, as long as they're, if you're utilizing your real estate holdings, if you're utilizing stores and spaces that are available, and kind of optimizing the space. Yeah, Rick, exactly,
Yeah, Rick is
exactly.
killing it today. I mean, thank you for coming out
Yeah,
because
it's very influencer culture. We're gonna, like, change the name of. You're like, oh, is that a bicycle? Oh, okay, cool. Um,
we're just using bricks and mortar
yeah,
a little bit differently.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting for Walmart. I think, yeah, I mean, e-commerce. If they're just turning the sales now, they weren't geared for it. It's whole other kind of environment. So it's interesting to see that they're leaning in this way, and then also to see some of those numbers on profitability.
Well, and it's one of the things that they mentioned at the end of this article, which I thought was kind of funny. It says that they're better positioned to manage tariffs, but prices are going to go up.
Yeah, that's
I
everybody.
mean, that's kind of how everybody is managing tariffs at the
How are you
moment.
going to manage tariffs with a, yeah, domestic location doing last mile?
And the other thing that I
Sure.
did want to mention, and maybe part of the profitability strategy, I'm not entirely sure, is that they are asking their customers to pay more for faster deliveries.
Yeah.
So they're saying that 91% of their deliveries, I think, are under 3 hours, but they're charging the customer to be able to have that flexibility and have
Yeah.
that faster delivery. Now, this will come into play with our last article as well, because I think retailers are better positioning themselves right now for that profitability by charging for some of the things that they needed to charge for
Yeah, like
before.
they didn't understand some of the consequences maybe of this business and what the reality and price scale would be. And then it's tough though now trying to inflict that on a customer, right? We've
Yeah.
seen that with
But
some of
they're
the
seeing
streaming
people are
services
paying
as
for it,
well. Yeah.
and people are paying for it, right?
Perceived convenience. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get to our second article. So this isn't really an article. It's actually a case study that we at Let's Talk Supply Chain collaborated with 910 advisors on. But who doesn't love comic books and trading cards? I thought this one was really great because they actually worked with a collectibles company who focuses on comic books and trading cards to really help them transform not only their leadership, but also do a digital transformation and even their footprint as well. And so, not too often do we talk about supply chain in collectibles, but this was an important case study to take a look at how they positioned themselves originally, how 910 advisors could come in and help them shift focus in a variety of different ways, and then what the results were of that. And one of the things that stood out for me was that they saw a surge because one of the challenges that they had was that they had a surge in demand and it equaled record high turnaround times. Nobody wants to hear that these days because everybody wants their stuff fast. I mean, we just talked about Walmart having under 3-hour delivery. So that's not good for anybody, and definitely a challenge that I think some organizations are having right now, including some of these small businesses as well. What did you think about this, Audrey?
I thought this was great. I think I like a case study approach, as a person who's trying to learn more and a person who, you want to follow the best of that other businesses are doing. So I like that it goes, that Let's Talk Supply Chain like went in depth here, and kind of got into the details. Something I thought was interesting was the approach taken was also, obviously it's optimization, it's about productivity, but they really focused on a methodology implementation. So it was process driven. And so even though there were, yes, technical or tech aspects to that, I think the prime takeaway for me is that it was training and delivering a methodology and kind of framework that employees could rely on, and then continue to use, because I do think that structure can be lacking in a lot of places. And having that consistency really does actually yield results in everything else.
Well, and it's a good point, right? Because there's a lot of organizations or professionals that think that technology is the going to solve everything.
Sure.
But
Sure.
technology in a digital transformation is only 20%.
Yes.
The rest of it is 80%. All of the
Yes.
change management,
Yes.
training the leadership,
Training.
you
Yeah.
know, taking a look at your physical footprint.
Yeah.
Because how often are you making people go back and do something 2 and 3 times
Yeah.
that is going to affect those that are working for you, the
Yeah.
professionals, the team
Yeah.
members, those that are on the line. And so they did. So what I would suggest, you go to the link in the comments, download the case study, take a look at it for yourself. One of the major breakthroughs that they had was the physical workflow design
Yes.
of how they had their inventory actually positioned and what that meant for obviously their team members, like I talked about.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned own your outcomes of transformation.
Mm.
I really liked that sentence. I was
Yeah.
like, own your outcomes of transformation. That's what 910 Advisors did for that collectibles company. But then they also transferred that empowerment over to the team at the collectibles company. And they are now empowered to own their outcomes of transformation and make sure that that keeps going. And I think that is really the fundamental, challenge, is that we need accountability, not blame.
Mm-hmm. And commitment. Mm-hmm.
And commitment. Yeah, I like that word. That's a really good word. All right. So let's get to our last article, shall we? I mean, it's not really an article. Well, there you go. Rick has come back. Rick and Halia are having a great conversation, by the way, in our comments
I love
under
it.
the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn. Rick liked your comment process. It's about people, process, and technology. That's right.
Yes. And
20% technology. All right. Let's talk about the last article. It's not really an article. I found this on Instagram and I thought it was a really interesting piece to the final mile. I know we're talking a little bit of final mile today with the Walmart article and then now with Amazon and UPS stores. But I think the underlying to this, which I mentioned when we were talking about Walmart, is that they're starting to charge customers for convenience and flexibility.
Yeah.
So this particular post is talking about how Amazon has quietly rolled out a $1 fee for returns dropped off at UPS store locations. However, they're only charging a $1 fee if there is a free option available nearby and you still decide to go to UPS.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fairly interesting. And then I got into the comments, which I thought was, I'm always curious as to how people think about some of these rollouts. And this person right here said, I prefer paying the $1 now because Kohl's has a line and UPS has a self-service machine. Just scan and drop in the box. Time is money.
Yeah.
And so there's a variety of thoughts out there and mindsets around paying for that flexibility and paying for that opportunity to be able to do something that's easier. I will say for me, a UPS store is way easier for me because it's the closest to me and it would take me 5 minutes versus a 20-minute potential round trip to drop it off for free. And so I agree with them, right? Time is money. What does that mean to you to be able to pay that $1 versus going to a different location and doing it for free? What did you think about this?
Yeah, I think two things. Why specifically UPS stores are being singled out? Because if you know, you know. But also I think it's that perceived convenience and it's Kohl's is too much of a walk. That's so true, Laura. But you do have to assess your route. Like for you, Sarah, if it's 5 minutes away and it's $1, I think that leans into your sustainability goals because for you, it's like, oh, well, I'll save the $1 by driving 20 more minutes out of my area and kind of, and if you don't have public transportation available because you're bringing packages, you're taking a car typically, then you're helping with carbon, right? So that $1 saves you on carbon, it saves you on time, it saves you, so $1 doesn't seem like that much, but I think it's interesting. It does, kind of bring up the conversation of what is valuable to people, and then also what is the marketing that we've been bombarded with like the perceived convenience of having, Hallie and Rick were going back and forth. What is the difference between a 5-hour delivery and a 3-hour delivery? Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, there probably isn't one, but we've been sort of geared into thinking that, yes, we have to have it the fastest, right? So.
But also, if we're talking about like dropping it off, but if you like, for me, if I go to a Kohl's, how much extra time am I going to spend in that store?
That's another consideration. How much side shopping do I do when I'm at a retail location versus a package specific, area where there's no real impulse buys.
So that $1 might actually be saving me like $25 because I'm actually going to go and shop if I go to a Kohl's or something like that.
Yeah, if you're at a Kohl's, it's an $80 minimum. Come on.
So it's not only the time to drop it off, it's also the time that you would be, wanting to. Oh, that's so pretty. And they do such a good job, right? When you walk in the store, all the really nice stuff that's, not on discount.
You have to get to the package thing. It's a hurdle. It's an obstacle course of retail temptation. Yeah.
First you have to walk, like Laura has to walk. Then you got to get to the store, and then you really got to put blinders on and be like, no, I need to leave now. I got to leave right now. Don't look at anything. All right. Well, thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. What I will tell you is next week, Thoughts and Coffee is on vacation. Because I am going to be doing some traveling, and we decided it's about time for Thoughts and Coffee to have a mini vacation. And then the following week, which is August 19th, Audrey Ross is going to be in the hot seat hosting Thoughts and Coffee for me while I still do a little bit more traveling.
Yeah.
And she's got Eric Johnson as her guest, and they're going to be
Really?
talking about. I actually found some pretty cool articles for that particular
Oh,
conversation, and I'm very excited to see how you break those ones down. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you click the attend button on there. And it's going to be a fun couple of weeks, although we are going to take a hiatus next Tuesday, but we will be back with Audrey and Eric on the 19th, and then I will be back the week after that. So thank you so much to everybody who weighed in. We had such a great conversation happening in the comments, all the fire emojis, which I totally appreciate. And Audrey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Sarah. Great conversation as always.
Bye, everyone.